Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is Let's Talk About with me and Heather, the lovely Heather over here. Heather's
Hello.
link is in the bottom as always. If anyone isn't subscribed, please do click on, because as you know, if you've been watching us for a few weeks, you know we do this alternate
In the
channels.
bottom as always.
Oh God,
If anyone
I've
isn't
got,
subscribed,
I've done that error.
So professional.
I
I thought
know.
it was only me that did that.
No, but it's because I went in to edit something and then forgot to. Yeah, but
Yeah.
anyway, things you do. So that this afternoon's chat is about life and work, and I kind of put, do you have a life work balance as the question on the opening thing, just because it seemed like the obvious place to start, really, in a way.
Yes. Oh, I wish I did.
Do you know what? I don't think anyone gets it right, do they?
Well, also your needs change over different periods of your life. What you need and what other commitments you have and how you have to juggle many things. People with young children or looking after elderly relatives and stuff. That there are many elements that come into it that
Yeah.
again are not in your control, and yet you've got to keep all the plates spinning. Yeah, but how much of a workaholic somebody is, that in theory is something you can control, but in reselling it's not easy to keep a balance, I find.
No, and I suppose also with reselling is you can do it at any time. So if you're struggling to sleep at midnight, you can go and do some work.
Oh no.
Well, I know, but like
People do.
some people could if they wanted to. Um,
Yes, some people are famous for going into day night reversal and living the vampire life.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I am
Yeah,
more of a night person, I have to admit.
yeah,
To be
see, I can't do that way around because of my family. It wouldn't work because I need to be around in the daylight hours. But knowing when to stop, I find, is tricky. If I'm on a roll, I'm one of these people that can get very tunnel vision with things. So once I'm into it, I want
yeah,
to keep going until I've done it, which is not always practical because there's other things that need taking care of around the house, or people, or things that you're supposed to be doing that somehow get forgotten. So balance is something to be aimed towards, not to be expected, I think. Oh, wow. We have some chat.
yes, we do. Hi, Antoinette, Chris, and Joan, and anyone else who's watching. That may not have commented. Chris is, I was a workaholic as I didn't have a family. I worked 7 days a week for 20 years now in burnt out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's full on, isn't it?
But again, if there isn't anyone else about to kind of say, now come on, let's go
Yeah,
out, or let's have a meal, or you need to eat. Again, if you tend to be one of those very focused people, and I think a lot of resellers are by nature of what's required to be a good, to be successful at reselling, I think it's quite easy to get caught up in that.
I wonder if
I hope you come back from burnout.
was that with reselling, Chris, or like another job that you had maybe? I just wondered that if it made a difference. You know,
Yeah, it's true. It might not have been reselling at the time. Some jobs are horribly demanding and seem to really want their pound of flesh. And particularly in this day when a lot of people are working at home or are permanently on call, so
yeah,
that at any time an email can come through. And my husband's experienced this because he's in computer programming. There'll be this message comes up and it's all, oh, this program's not worked, and he has to come up and sort it out. It's like, it's 9 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. What the heck is going on?
yeah.
Oh,
Now
he's a
you're
driving
a
instructor.
instructor.
Yeah, that's hard work. I've had friends who've done that, and that's all you can work. I mean, people want evening lessons a lot of the time. They want weekends. They want,
Mm.
and if you want to make a good living at it, it's not an easy living. I bet reselling's a doddle compared to driving instructor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's a title for your book, How to
Cool.
Control a Workaholic.
Yeah. Well, if I can't control myself, I'd be hard pushed to be advising somebody else. I'm not that cheeky. But I'm also not that much of a workaholic. But there are times when, you get the urge to work, and kind of my energy is very up and down. That's me. I'm just sometimes I'll get a lot done in a very short space of time, and other times nothing's happening. I'm
Yeah,
not productive, and
yeah,
I just have to let it go and go, it's not happening today. I've got ways of getting around that so that at least things keep happening, on eBay, which is where I sell. But learning to manage it and learning to recognize it in yourself when you've kind of gone a bit too far with it. Yeah.
I think it's kind of like, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because like you said, and it's also like your own self motivation, especially for you that are self employed, because you have to be motivated, but there's got to also be a level of like, if you're not clocking into a job where you have to go, how do you then push that motivation?
It is a balance. I mean, I think a lot of resellers are quite highly motivated people because you have to be to get out there and do it. And there's always aspects people like. For example, people love buying. They're motivated to get out and be early doors at a flea market or a jumble or a, boot fair. And yet things like the kind of discipline required to list consistently, to do what you have to do for the rest of the business, can often be a real struggle. Sometimes having structure in the day I find really helps. So if you say, okay, it's Monday, that's the day I go to this charity shop, then I'll do some photography, then I'll stop for a bit, and then, structuring.
Reward yourself with the bit you like by doing the bits you don't like first, essentially. If that were more of a thing.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow I can go and do a full day's charity shopping if today I do 25 listings or whatever.
Yeah, because you can end up with a huge backlog of stuff, which can also be much like a situation I was talking about earlier. If you've got so much stuff, it's oppressing you and depressing you, then you're going to find it very hard to keep the motivation to go, I just need to get it listed and get it out there.
And it's not organized, and you don't know why, and you don't even remember what you've got, never mind where it is. And then it becomes an issue for you mentally, I think, because you shut the door on it, essentially.
Exactly. And it's still there. It doesn't go away, even if you can't see it.
But then you're still doing the bit you like, which is buying more.
Yeah. And this is where some of the problems for some people start. I know when I started deciding that I was going to make it a full-time business and I was going to really pitch into it, I had to get more systematic. I had to get more efficient. Yeah. And I had to be a bit worky about it, as the great Carla Jenkins would say. I had to kind of just get my head on and go, look, I want to work as effectively and efficiently as I can, because I do not want to be working 24/7. It's like, that's not why I'm doing this. And I'm working towards that. My future plans are more about simplifying processes. How can I make it easier? How can I reduce the stress? It's all those things you can do to kind of like pick out the stuff you don't like and either outsource it or get it all done at one time so that it's not hanging over you.
Hi, Sharon, Sylvia, and anyone else who's joined us. So he says, when I had to sell my pet shop due to bad health, I was lost. Only then did I realize how much of my time life it took up.
Yeah. It's sad to let go of something like that. And obviously, if you run a pet shop, you love animals, you're doing something that helps the community as well as running a business.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that you can lose yourself in it, and it's only when you stop because you have to, because your body says, that you kind of think, maybe I've got to reevaluate. And a lot of people do wait until they either get very ill or there's a big life change event that happens to reevaluate and go, hang on a minute, what's really important here? That's usually what will drive trying to get balance back. I used to be a hypnotherapist, as anyone who's watched this will know, and I loved what I did. And I did it for nearly 20 years. But what the problem was, excuse me, is my computer just popping up something I didn't want? What the problem was is that it tended to be evenings and weekends, which of course is exactly the time I wanted to spend with my young son, my husband. And I just thought, you know what, I don't want to keep doing that because I'm gonna, we're gonna lose out. So that's when I started to step back from that and began to grow the eBay side of things.
Yeah. John says eBay is a 24-hour job, especially with buyer questions. Being a slave to our phones, etc., keeps us working. I still can't switch it off overnight. Addicted.
Oh, that's a biggie, isn't it? Actually, not having your phone anywhere near you when you're trying to sleep, because bad sleep hygiene really affects everything else. As anyone who knows who's had a few nights where you can't sleep, it can really kick you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually into a bit of a dark place, and it is that whole thing of trying to get into better sleep hygiene habits, of saying, right, my phone goes on its charger downstairs when I go to bed, and I don't look at it until I get up in the morning. Admittedly, it's one of the first things I do when I get up in the morning and have my coffee, but there's no way any question anyone's going to ask me cannot wait till the morning.
Yeah. I suppose that's also like, if you put yourself on time away, just to have a break or whatever, or because you're ill, are you then still doing stuff on the phone because people's asking questions and whatever? Like, or do you just allow? I'm assuming when you're on time away that maybe you can have like an automated response to a question to say, this person's away, I'm away till such a date, and so nothing will be answered or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never really done it. I haven't put my shop on holiday for quite a number of years because I tend to only go on holiday for a week, and I just extend my dispatch times. And then if somebody has got a question, I'm either like, I can't answer that right now, but if you give me a couple of days, I will. Yeah. Or, because my stock is actually physically in here. It's in the garage, so I'd have to go up to the garage to do a different measurement on something anyway. So they usually have to wait a bit.
Yeah. But if you were on holiday, would you not? Would you do that? Would you switch it off? Would you respond? I mean,
quite often I will respond, but only when I'm sitting down with a nice, cold glass of wine somewhere, and I might go, okay, I'll check my messages and I'll just go through and fend off any emergency.
Because then, in that sense, it's never really clicked off, is it? It's never.
No.
You ever get the full time off it type of thing.
True. I suppose I've got my boundary of, I'll look at it when I'm good and ready, and I'll only respond to what I feel like responding to. I don't get millions of questions. I try and be as fulsome as I can in my descriptions. I do sell clothes, which is always a bit of an awkward area because people will have, but half the time they'll ask you a damn fool question like, what's the inside leg measurement? When it's very clearly there.
Will this fit me or something? Well, have you checked the measurements and stuff?
You see, I'd ignore those ones. I just like go to ignore that. Market has answered. Ding. Yeah, but I'm not going to sit working but I'll answer a couple of questions off, anything that's very urgent. But I try and leave it as much as I can. But it's just more of a pain switching a shop off and then having to switch it back on again and wait for sales to come in. Whereas I'm making money while I'm away. It's like, no brainer, really. True.
When you said my phone stays downstairs, I started to sweat.
Now, think about that one. Yeah, it's the problem of being always available, isn't it? I mean, this is the curse of modern technologies, that people think you're always available, and I don't want to be always available. It's always on my terms, and I still stick to that. Really, if I don't want to answer something,
Sylvie says, I had to go into the shop every day as there were animals to be checked and cared for and feeding, cleaning, etc. And once I was there, I always found other things to do.
Of course.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Running a shop must be one of the most difficult things. When I was younger, I used to think, wouldn't it be fun to have a shop? But no, I've known too many people who've done it, and who have absolutely sort of slayed themselves for it. So.
Yeah. Assuming you have to take on employees, and then you've got their issues and their needs and whatever, and their behaviours and whatever.
Yeah, why we became self-employed in the first place, not to have to deal with all of that. Yeah, very much so.
Makes it much easier, I guess. I mean, obviously, I've been out of work for a long time, for quite a long time, through issues, and I'd love to be able to work, but there's just nothing really available. Like, I know you can do home jobs and stuff. Normally, whatever you do at home, you have to then go and do training for, but also somewhere that I usually can't get to. But also, I have limitation in, like, have limitations in, so because I get support with the carers and stuff, I couldn't pay for full carers out of my wages. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so things like that have to be considered otherwise. But what I do instead is I I did admin and stuff for a dog charity. I also helped out a couple others, like doing them what I can from home kind of thing to just give us something. But a lot of those have sort of waved off a little bit, with the whole pandemic, everything sort of calmed down. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hi Carla and Kath.
Oh, hello.
And anyone else who's joined us again. But yeah, I think the balance thing is, as you said, subjective and different dependent on what's going on in your life at the time. Because when you said like having young children, I remember I was working, so I would have to leave 10 to 8 in the morning. My sister lived 2 streets away, luckily, and her daughter went to the same school. So I would leave 10 to 8 in the morning, drop them at my sister's, go for the bus into work. I finished work at 5. My sister obviously picked them up and she gave them tea. And then I would pick them up at 6 and then get home about 10 past 6. And by which time it would be a case of, washing whatever they needed washing for school. Luckily, my sister had done it and they'd be in bed pretty much not long after.
Yeah.
It was, obviously every week for a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It does depend on what your circumstances are, but anything like having to look after somebody, it inherently changes everything. Goodness me, Vaughan had a taxi company after the shop, thinking it was less physical. Unfortunately, it was the people working for me that were the stressor. Yeah, this is the problem. The minute you start having anyone, I mean, this is why we all work for ourselves and don't have employees. Because dealing with other people, particularly if you're kind of the boss of them, which is awkward, stress levels through the roof, I'm sure. Goodness me.
Because I guess you have to behave in a certain way, but in one sense, you probably just want to scream at them. Do you know what I
mean? Indeed, yes. You're very much limited in what you can do. It's not legal to kill them. It just isn't.
Sure. But I suppose guilt is a one thing, isn't it? Like, especially for people with families when they feel guilty. And, it's not like years and years ago when the wife always stayed home, as it were, with the children. But like, you know what I mean?
Well, it's rarely an option these days, and a lot of people want to keep working. I was already self-employed when I had my son, so it's kind of... I had that flexibility, but for a lot of people are actually working their asses off just to pay for the childcare. It's crazy world. I like that. I thought things would get easier when my kids got older. How wrong was I? They change. They don't necessarily get easier. I've been very lucky with my son. He's actually very straightforward and not a stressor in my life. He's more of a joy than a stressor, I have to say. But I'm lucky, I think, just lucky. Wow.
Hi, Babs. Before I fell, I'm assuming you mean pregnant, I was a teacher. No way could I go back now.
Ill, I think, before she fell ill.
Oh, fell ill. Sorry.
I think so.
I thought you just missed the word out, but yeah, that makes
sense. Text. Doing its worst.
Yeah. It's my brain.
But teaching is terribly stressful because it isn't just about teaching a group of kids, some of whom may or may not want to be there. It's all of the stuff that goes with it, the other people, the admin, the hierarchy, the politics,
It used to be the reason men got married at all, didn't it? Someone to look after their home and make sure they got fed. And that is true, really.
I think it was that way once upon a time. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, although I know, like, my parents, for instance, were in love and everything, like, there was still, it's sort of, when we were really young, it was like my mum put the dinner on the table. My mum didn't work when, like, after the children were born, essentially, and the tea was on the table for my dad coming in from work, that kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it wasn't like strict, but that was just, you know what I mean? And it was
Just how it was
only like it was only when we got older, they started doing like, you know, bits in the house, like hoovering and washing up. He always did the dishes, you know what I mean? But when us were young, I don't remember him doing anything because he literally worked away, and then when he came back, he just chilled, I guess. He went back
Yeah.
to work away.
The world is a different place, and I think yes. Yeah, lots of people have very different situations, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that attitude may still happen in certain places, particularly when someone has stopped work to have kids, and then that their job then becomes the kids in the house. And I think I did that for a little while, and then I had an absolute mother of all the rebellions. All the stuff hit the fan. It was like, no, I've done my time now. I'm not doing it that way anymore. Nope.
Because it is unfair, because it's kind of like, you know, and nowadays, you know, obviously more and more women are working as well as running the house with the partner, but yet the partner still doesn't do as much as the wife does, type of thing. And also like the wife also has to do the other things of like remembering what the kids are doing at school, and if they need an outfit or a packed lunch or whatever it is that, and then someone's birthday it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all the admin
All the
associated with
admin.
it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just because the female of the species is the proud possessor of a vag does not mean that they are somehow innately in tune with house things. No.
Yeah.
No. It's a myth.
It definitely is.
I'm not particularly domesticated in that sense. Truly not. And it caused horror in my family when I used to say, oh no, no, I'd rather get a cleaner in than that if I could, I used to love just sort of poking the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
I was probably a feminist before it was fashionable. But things change through life, and you have to be flexible and adaptable. But yeah, if you don't like a situation, change it, and that is key. Don't think you have to put up with something if it's not working. You can change it. It may take a bit of a battle and a lot of discussion.
I think a lot of people, they just get into a rut in that situation, don't they? And then and also the fear of the unknown. What if it's worse? What if I change it and it's worse? And then you kind of like, you know what I mean? You feel stuck there, I think. And I think that's the same in a job you don't like or don't love.
Yeah.
You go because you need the money, and you're scared to change because maybe you won't have some money for a little while or whatever, and so you just end up stuck there and doing it.
Yeah. And that's the problem is, no one's indispensable. Things do change. So it's better that you drive the change rather than waiting for the axe to fall or something to go horribly wrong. Or
definitely.
Yeah. It's a lot of things you haven't got control over, but I think taking some responsibility for it does help. But it's very difficult if it's about trying to make ends meet. You do what's necessary, but you also need to keep your eyes open for new opportunities and something better to come along. Yeah,
because I think sometimes you need something that mentally fulfills you as well within your job role or whatever, like as as just as bringing in money. It's one thing. I mean, I've always said, it's like, would you do a job that you may get paid really highly for, but you absolutely detest, or would you rather be in a job that you don't get as much for, but you love the most parts of it? Because there's always times when you don't love it, you don't want to go there, you don't want to do it or whatever. There's always going to be that, even if it's a job you love, that's still going to happen. But it's kind of like, what would you choose then? Because I think I couldn't be in a job I hated.
Yeah, I've done both. I was in quite a high, sort of fairly high-powered thing back in my sort of 20s and late 20s, and the stress was unbelievable. I did it because I didn't know that I could do anything else. I'd kind of got caught up in it. The money was good. Thought that was important, as one often does. And it wasn't until I got quite seriously ill and actually had to step back and not work for a bit. Lots of things went on in my life. And then after having a really severe illness to actually think, well, why am I doing this then? What's life about if I'm spending my time hating what I do?
Yeah.
So I did change it. It wasn't easy.
No.
And it was a real step down from where I'd been. But once you kind of realise that you're worth more than money, it
Yeah.
changes everything.
I mean, that's the thing. I think, like, it would be nice to not have to worry about money. I think that for everybody. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It would be nice not to have to worry about money, and if something broke down, to be able to just get it fixed because you were able to. But
yeah, a lot of people aren't in that position,
yeah,
and it's really hard.
Yeah, definitely. But when you kind of stuck there, it's like, oh well, what do you do? You know what I mean? And like I said, people stay there for years and years, unless like you have something severe that happens to change that.
It just shifts your priorities a bit. It doesn't mean that you still don't need money, because clearly you do, but
Yeah.
it just gives you a bit of a chance to step back from it slightly and kind of
Yeah.
look at things in a, rather than being that close to something where you really can't see it because you're just so busy running to keep up with yourself. You end up having to stand back. I found it in a way a useful exercise. I wouldn't recommend it everyone to wait as long as I did before something goes wrong to change things.
No. I suppose also when you're involved in it, it's hard to see it from an outsider's point of view. You know what I mean? You just go through the motions and do it, really, don't you? And you don't really sort of do anything else about it.
In the short term, that as a means of getting through something, that's fine. But as a long-term strategy, it quite often does have health costs and implications, because if your mental health isn't good because you're absolutely hating what you do, then there's going to be some kind of cost that comes with that.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, whatever. Yeah.
What else have I wrote? Yeah, we covered wanting to change, wanting to work for me. That was what I put. Yeah, work-life balance, guilt, job you love. Yeah, we've covered basically all the little bits that I wrote, including the sort of balance of the housework and the home life and and the admin, as you said.
Life admin, there's a lot of it, isn't there? And I mean, I still do a certain amount of it, but I have deliberately kind of like pushed some of that onto my husband, who's now working at home and not commuting, so there is more time available. You're worth more than money. All these books that I'm never going to write. It's lovely, isn't it? I do come out with some old tosh sometimes. I really do.
You could have your own library full of books.
Exactly.
You've got all the titles already.
I mean, I'm not sure I'm employable now. I think I'm pretty unemployable because I've worked for myself for so long. But I did so many different jobs in the time that I had. I did freelancing, and it's amazing what you can do when you have to. And what made them all bearable is I knew I wasn't going to do them for long. That's how I did it. If I thought I was stuck in any one of those situations, I would have gone nuts.
Yeah.
But I was usually sent in as a troubleshooter, which is what I'm actually best at. To go in, sort something out, get everyone set up, and then leave. And I get bored. I mean, this is the problem I have. I get always with jobs. I think the longest I was actually in one particular job was probably about 2.5 years, and I reckon 1.5 years of those was too long. Because you spend the first 3 months learning the job, the next 6 months perfecting the job, and then after that it's like, no, what do I do now then? Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And that challenge is never available, because they're like, well, you've only been here 9 months. It's like, yeah, but I've done all this for you and I've sorted this, so I need a challenge.
Yeah, you need something.
Oh no, go back to the beginning and start again. I'm like, oh, fuck that. Or,
yeah.
Oops.
Fine.
Naughty word.
Well bothered. But yeah, I totally get that. I get pretty bored as well. I think it's a Gemini thing. Not that I'm saying the whole Gemini thing's a thing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like everything's amazing at first, but then it soon becomes not amazing. I'm like, oh, I have to do this again.
Yes, exactly. And I think it is that need, and the need for a challenge and to be learning. I like to be learning something all the time. So although I think, I'm a bit of a workaholic, and I've got a little bit bored with clothes, not for the money and for the fact they're the basis of my business. That's all fine and dandy, but it's kind of why I started dipping my toe into jewellery and stuff, because I thought, oh, that's an area I don't know anything about. But I tend to sort of I'm not always going to jump from one thing to another, because you don't learn enough that way. If I do it, I go in both feet. I completely go in and go, okay, I want to master jewellery in 2 years. I want to know what I need to know or the majority of it within 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me going. So I don't mind if I lose a bit of the balance in my efforts to learn.
I suppose with your jobs with reselling, and I have dipped my toe in it a long time ago, and I did love it. I do love that whole finding thing stuff.
Yeah,
obviously that's the best part in it. But like with that, you constantly can learn, can't you? Because there's always something new and something different, and that you've never seen before. And while you have your constant like usual things, and plus there's different ways of actually sourcing. So if you've done charity shops and you're bored of it, you can do car boots, and then you can try auctions, and then you can try, there's like meet and source from Facebook and whatever else you want to do. There's ways of changing those bits. What always remains the same is the listing, posting, photographing, posting, that kind of thing that you have to do.
And during lockdown, of course, a lot of people had to change how they source stuff. So, boot fairs and flea markets and jumble sales all just stopped for a while, and it was a bit scary. And I do think I was quite lucky in some of the contacts I had, that I was able to get stock in bulk, which I didn't want to sell it all, but I was able to then pass some of that on to other people who I knew needed stock and couldn't get it. So it was hard work, but at least it kept things flowing a bit,
Yeah.
So you can adapt, so long as you can be open to new possibilities and new potentials and adapt. I think that's part of the game, really.
I think the thing is, we going back to the whole COVID situation where things had to change. We're surprisingly adaptable, really, when we have to be, essentially, aren't we? Like the fear of it all and the run up to things like that, or the thought of it, is terrifying. But going through it, and when you look back, you kind of think, we did adapt to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people are a lot more flexible and adaptable than they think. It's usually habit, and the fact that it takes less energy to just keep going the same than change. But when you do change, you suddenly realise how much more you can do, how much more creative you can be. And I do think it's quite funny that Kath E has said there, can you believe that some resellers don't actually like the shopping bit? I can, because I've never liked shopping per se myself. I mean, I'm not someone who wander around, a great big shopping mall, Blue Water, which is our nearest one, and think it's fun. I never have done. It's always horrified the life out of me. But treasure hunting, which is why I'm the treasure pilot, because I see it as treasure hunting, it's much more fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the rest is all worky work, Carla. You're doing quite well. She's been buying breakables lately, hasn't Miss Carla?
Yes, I've seen all the mugs.
Smashed the whole collection. Yeah, it is fun though, and it's nice to get out and be out in the fresh air and just not be sat behind a desk all the time. I think I like that bit of it.
Yeah, and I suppose especially like if you go to new places as well, that helps, I think.
Yeah,
you need your local area. Yeah, and it makes a difference. But
I'm a bit bored of the local charity shops, and their quality is pretty appalling, and their prices are also pretty appalling. So I'm kind of thinking, I think I'll just give it a break and find another way.
Yeah. Yeah, Hermes.
Well, yeah. I mean, any of the parcel providers all seem to have a bit of a record for mucking things up, don't they? Yeah, the filler shopping bag will because that never happens here. I mean, very rarely. Filler bag. I mean, wow.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say now. Brain memory like a sieve.
Brain fart.
No, It's usual, to be fair. But I was trying to think. Now, whatever it was is gone.
But there's all kinds of balances to be maintained. When you have things like how much, for example, reselling, because I know a lot of people in here are, how much do you outlay in order to get a turnover? Where do you draw the line of, I don't want to spend too much, but I want to get higher turnover? Because otherwise you can spend a lot and think you're doing really well because your turnover is big, but then a whole chunk of it has gone in post and stock and packaging and so that is a fine balance in itself.
Definitely. But also different resellers do it differently, don't they? Because some people will pick up whatever profit can be made out of an item, they'll sell that, where others would only choose things that give them a certain amount of profit each time, and can walk past things that knowingly are worth something extra than what they say for. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I've done it. I've looked at it and thought, I know that would get picked up, but it's either big and bulky or outside my expertise. I'm like, no, I can't be bothered. I'm very lazy. I'd like to do things as simply as possible.
Yeah.
Josh survived with that filler bag, that's for sure. Oh yes,
isn't it? Definitely. But I don't know if anyone has anything they want to mention in the chat about life-work balance, about their life-work balance.
Yes, do share.
Maybe it's like, are you in a job currently that you want out of, and you haven't, do you want to change? Is that something like for anyone? Could be a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do eBay as a kind of a side hustle, I believe is the term. And a part-time at it while they're doing other things. And it is a great thing because it's so flexible. But what can happen then is you're working full-time at your full-time job, and then you're working at the side hustle. So that again is a difficult one to balance.
Yeah, you're kind of doing 2 full-time jobs essentially, and have no
particularly when you think you're doing the boot fairs, which can run. I mean, we don't have weekday ones here. It doesn't happen in my part of the world, but some places have them. But usually it's Saturday and or Sunday, but that's your whole weekend sort of shop, really, isn't it? That's not a balance. But
yeah,
you feel you're going to miss out if you don't go. This is the thing. It's just your one, Carla. I saw the infamous filler bag. I have seen it in action.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it's happened here. There was a charity shop that was closing down, and they did it to clear some stock, and I did get some decent pickings out of that. And there was one charity shop that did it local to me, and it was a filler bag for £5, and I trundled it. I mean, honestly, the manageress, I think, still hates me for this. Is I wandered in, and they had a Barbour jacket hanging up, where they said everything in the shop was filler bag for £5. So the Barbour jacket filled a bag.
And so it should.
For £5. And she was like, oh, I hadn't really meant for that to go in there. Like, a bit late now, isn't it? You shouldn't put it out.
Yeah.
But, it all balances out because I have paid more for things since, and I've bought things from them, reinvested with them.
Swings and roundabouts, my mum always says.
Exactly.
So, yeah, life is swings and roundabouts.
Oh dear. Does your keyboard need cleaning, Carla? I get that if I'm using a phone. The predictive text. I mean, honestly, what it can do to the English language, mangles it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I haven't covered.
Yeah, Kathy has said that obviously my work-life balance was totally wrong when I was teaching. I'm convinced that's what's caused me to fall ill, so I can't work now. Yeah, that's a real shame that you can't work now. I hope that situation does improve, Kath. But yeah, I mean, I certainly feel that my lack of work-life balance and ignoring my body and what my emotions were telling me was wrong, I just kind of soldiered on, as you do, probably contributed to the fact that I got ill as well. I'm fortunate I recovered, but Ah, Carla's been shaking her keyboard. A lot of crumbs.
All the crumbs are out.
Oh, the dogs are eating it all up now. Hoover.
That's the thing. It's like for me because I'd like to do something because mentally, well, kind of, I could still do something, but
Absolutely.
it's that sort of where getting a balance in that way because when you look at things, even when I've looked at work from home type stuff, it's always like, oh well, you need to come in and do like training or whatever. So that
Oh,
doesn't
yes.
work. I can't do that. But also, it's the balance between because I get support for the carers and things like that.
Yeah, if you're earning, that's going to create a bit of a...
Where because it seems like that they just take everything off you. If you earn like 20 pence over a slight amount, that's it. They just take everything off you, and I can't. I mean, it's
You
like
can't afford to do that, can you? It's ridiculous.
no, I can't.
But they should be encouraging people to, in situations like yourself, who physically are not able to do certain things, but mentally are absolutely A1,
Yeah.
just a whole treasure of potential that could be used. I just think it's so wrong to pigeonhole people and not let them be who they are, and that's what that amounts to.
Yeah. Chris says, as a reseller, I attempt to do the bulk of my work Monday to Friday, office hours, so me and Belle have time together. Yeah, because Belle does a Monday to Friday job, doesn't she? Like a weekday work, which works obviously for both. And also, like, is it sort of a 9 to 5 thing you try to do Monday to Friday so that you also have the evenings to yourself as well?
Well, that's it. But then as a reseller, then there probably are the boot fairs and things to consider, so that'll lead into the weekend. But you do have to manage it, I think.
Yeah.
Otherwise, relationships end up suffering if you don't see the other person, or they only ever see you coming in with 2 great big IKEA bags. Not always good.
Julie says, my work life, well, I tackle the big issues at work straight away. I don't put them off, or they are on my mind, and I don't stress. I remind myself I am one person and will spin one plate at a time and won't allow anyone to put pressure on me. I think you need to put that. You need to do that, don't you? You need to put in right. What's priority here? The big stuff, get that done. You know what I mean? Rather than like, because all those little things can wait. Everything can wait, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, it's kind of, it tends to be about things like boundaries, where you actually say, no, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to be sort of swayed or manipulated into doing something else. And it's very tough to do that. It takes a lot of practice, and not everybody's as strong, especially when the demands might come from, I don't know, let's say sort of family members or circumstances, that are a bit outside your control. But you do have to be quite firm with other people. The number of people, I think we discussed this before, who think that because you're not doing a 9 to 5 employed secure, there's no such thing as a regular job, that somehow you're not working. It's like, actually, yes, we are. And having that understanding from other people will also enable you to get more of a balance in how you manage your work life.
Definitely.
Yeah, Jilly B there saying she was very ill in 2008 and learned you need to be here for your kids and not work issues, because work will just get someone else to do the job. That's, it's business. And I think that's the thing, is people get so wedded to what they do that they are what they do, and that's it's not ideal.
In my brother's case, it's kind of like the reverse, because and I'm sure he wouldn't mind saying, but he's been the stay-at-home dad. He with the kids. His partner, wife, might as well say they've been together that long, is a radiographer in the hospital, and so he's done the cooking the tea, tidying the house, taking the kids to school, that sort of thing. And he does, like, he's very good at photography and stuff like that, like, but more as in he's done weddings and things like that. So he does that as well, like that. But obviously they're out of like weekday hours usually. So
Yes.
yeah.
And that's fantastic. I've got friends who, it's been the chap who stayed at home.
Yeah.
Because the one in a couple, there's usually one person who's earning more than the other, and it makes more sense for them to be the ones who keep on working.
Mm-hmm.
And different people are suited to different things. It can work very well, but it can also raise issues. If it's not a natural role, and you do it, but also you've got to make sure you look after your own need for productivity and having a purpose. If you're just aimlessly going around the same old thing, it's very hard to keep motivated for anything. You need work for. It's the thing, people think it would be so nice not to work, to just have all leisure, and actually usually that's more stressful. If you've got something to do and a purpose and a need, that's a far better place to be, I think. Christina's come up with a nice Dolly Parton line. Working 9 to 5. I'm not going to sing it because you'd all block your ears. I ain't singing that. Carla would do it great justice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all gone very silly now. Dolly Tyler. Like it. I loved that movie actually in 9 to 5. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh dear. Well, you're listening in. Oh dear.
So I think we've pretty much covered everything that we have that I wrote, but I mean, unless anyone else has got any other points that they want to make. Other than that, for next week, which will be on your channel, what we're going to do. I think we had health issues, family.
Yeah, I was just looking to see what was.
Love life, mental health, there was a few. And then obviously we've been adding on any suggestions along the way. So if anyone does have any suggestions, please feel free to write them in the chat, or if you're watching this back later, in the comments.
Yeah, drop us a comment. Absolutely. So we've got two subjects that we were going to do, and one of those was health issues, and one was mental health. Oh no, we've done health issues, mental health, and love and relationships.
Yeah.
Which one would you like to do next week?
Love and relationships.
Okie dokie.
That's a big one, isn't it? Well, they're all big ones, I suppose.
They're all big ones, and sometimes you think, there's going to be so much to say, and other times you're like, oh well.
Yeah.
It is strange, different, and it doesn't always come up at the time. That's the thing. Sometimes you listen to something like this, and it'll be later, and you think, oh, hang on a minute, what about lentil health?
Mental health.
Oh no,
could just be my accent, and
No, you have a brilliant accent. I like it. I like the accent. I was listening to your program about all the different words.
Oh yeah.
And some of them actually I had heard. There weren't that many I hadn't heard, which is quite strange, because I thought, well, how come we use those words down here when we're a long way away?
I think a lot of people use pelt or pelting marine was a big thing, so I didn't realise.
Oh yeah, pelting along. Yeah, absolutely. That one was like, I remember that. It's not a word you hear so much nowadays, but it's definitely about.
Definitely.
I quite liked clarty. That was a new one on me.
Clarty. Yeah, I love that word.
Clarty. And how
are you covered in clarts? You're getting clarts all over the floor.
So I was like clots, isn't it? Clots of mud.
Clots of mud, yeah.
Yeah, it does tickle me. I love language and knowing where stuff comes from. It's always fascinated me.
The amount of conversations I've had with Nick and Ian and Sharon and Susan and that, and I'll say something and I'll go, what? Because it's because I say quote and quote and they say it's the same word, but to me it's not. Quote, as in like a saying, a
A quote. Yes.
Yeah, because you say quote, and I'd say quote, so it
Yeah.
totally changes it. And then I would say quote, but everyone says I'm saying the same thing. But
Well, as in
to
coat.
me, yeah.
Ah.
But to me, it's different. But everybody else, it's not.
I think context is important there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, people do mishear things, and it's what you hear is tuned
It's
into
about pronunciation, isn't it? Because the way you say quote like that is very different.
It makes me sound very posh.
I have to concentrate to say that like that. Quote. But
film's the best. I love that.
film, yeah.
Film.
It's funny though, because my daughter doesn't say film; she says film, like everybody else. She
Yeah,
thinks
I know because we've got Irish family and they say film. So
yeah.
I like it. I think it makes the language a much richer place when everyone does things differently.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my girl. Hi, Susan. Oh dear. No idea what language. But then I love the Bristolian accent. I love it all. I just think it's brilliant. I think wherever you come from, you always think you haven't got an accent, and it's just boring because that's what everyone sounds like.
I just always. I think with mine, I think it's always just been like. I think we sound common. Whenever I see us, like whenever I watch us on TV or something, or in a game show or whatever, we just always sound really common and like a bit stupid. But then maybe do you know what I mean? I don't know. That's just how it sounds to me.
No, that's a harsh judgment. I always like a proper accent, like I say, not just this southern general stuff that we've got going on, but that all the different parts of the country, you can really tell where someone comes from just by the nuances of the way they speak. It's fascinating. Oh, hello, Nick. Or Nick and Andrea, or Andrew, or whoever we've got here. Yes, you've dropped in just as we're finishing up. That's very naughty. You have to go and stand in the corner.
You've got a few minutes if you want to add anything about a work-life balance. Go.
Yes.
It's not like on the spot. Yeah.
Nick being famous for sort of being up all night and then not working during the day, I believe.
Yes.
But it's very easy to get into those sort of habits, I think.
Do you not think, though, that people are naturally night owls and natural day people? You know what I mean? So, like, the work better.
I'm a night owl, but it's just my life doesn't allow me to completely do that. But yeah, I quite often think, well, I could go and do some work now, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. It's like, no, I can't.
I mean, I usually don't go to sleep until sort of 2-3 in the morning, whatever, and that's like, and then I'm awake between 8 and 9. But I work off that sleep. That's all. I'm fine with that amount. You know what I mean? 5 or 6 hours is. Yeah. 5 or 6 hours is what works for me. But I don't know. I just like the nighttime more. I don't know what it is. It's more peaceful. It's more whatever.
It's usually quieter. There's fewer people hanging on the doorbell or ringing the phone. Yeah, it has its own atmosphere, doesn't it? Yeah, I'd find it much easier to sort of stay up all night than, and that would never bother me, just as long as I didn't have to function too much the next day. The finger, what Nick done to his finger? I've missed something, haven't I? Clearly.
He had well, I'm going to say a Macam word, spelk.
Splinter.
Yes, he had a spelk.
Now that was a new word to me. Spelk. Yeah. I've not heard that.
Oh, guess what? It's mum. You put them at yeah.
That's your delivery then.
Medication.
Oh.
It just happens every time.
Oh.
I don't know if he's gone to the front door, if he's gone to next door, but that's what I meant. But he walked away beforehand, so.
Mafting? What's mafting? Have I missed it?
He told us as well, and I can't remember.
Mafting.
You'll have to say it again. He did say it as well. He wrote it in my.
Oh right. Oh, do tell Chris. Yeah, I'd love to know. You've not been to the doctor. I'm sure you don't go to the doctor unless you're practically on your last leg.
Yeah, you've got you need to go do that. I don't know. What was it again?
Rafting. I know. I feel I have to look it up now. What it is. I love some words that you always get these websites where they give you the old English words and things that have fallen out of use that are just so beautiful and descriptive.
Yeah.
This entrepreneur brand.
I was going back into my comments so I could read it.
A sore point. That's exactly why you should have gone.
It's when a person uncomfortably feels hot and sweaty due to the weather.
Rafting.
Rafting is.
Actually, sort of describes what it sounds like. Rafting. Hot and sweaty. Well, yes, Nick's finger seems to be a point of contention.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
It's just adapting around the splinter. I'll say splinter.
It sounds like it's a really difficult word, that.
It's not naturally for me.
Yeah.
So exactly. It's like when I have to say, when trying to say things in, well, because I always say, well, how do you pronounce it? And then I just copy by whatever they say.
Right.
But, yeah. Anyway. Well, one thing. See you there. Right, I'm just
on the phone.
Oh, dear. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap up.
The universe is telling you clearly we are done.
So we'll be back next week on Heather's channel, and we're going to talk love and romance and relationships and all that sort of stuff. Good, the bad, and the ugly part of it, all of that. So if you want to join us, we'll be on Heather's channel, which is linked below, next week. I will be back tonight at 9 o'clock if anyone fancies watching, but it'll just be Chatty Tuesdays, no trivia. It's just Chatty Tuesday, and we'll have a bit of a chat. And other than that, thank you to Heather for joining me here, and thank you to everyone in the side chat for listening, watching, contributing, the whole lot. And we shall see you next week. So bye now.
Bye. Well, good waving.
Yeah.